welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Tuesday, it's How to Tarot Tuesday, and what that is it's a video vlog series that every week I post a reading that is based on one of the 78 card tarot. And each week we go ahead and we talk about the imagery and the symbols in the card. So that is the beginning of the video. And then the second part of the video, we go through and you, the viewer, will go ahead and choose from one of 3 tarot decks to see how that card manifests in your life. The decks that I choose, the first deck is always the Rider-Waite-Smith, but the second and third decks are specially chosen by me to, and it's based, what I do is I go ahead and pull the images that I think best represent the card that we're talking about. And now today I will be clarifying using some oracle cards, but if you ever want to see the name or the authors of the decks that I use, or if you ever want to skip the how-to part and go straight to your reading, the timestamps are always listed in the description box below. So today we get to talk about one of my favorite cards, and it really is. It has a special place in my heart. And just something about the elements of the imagery in it, it's just, I find it to be very empowering, and it is just one that is very special to me. And that card is the Nine of Pentacles. In the Nine of Pentacles, you see a woman who is dressed very elegantly, right? She has a headdress that looks almost queenly, except it is not, a crown. And she has very beautiful robes that look like they're made of fine material. She has a very elaborate garden in the background, and all of the pentacles are located towards the bottom of the card, which kind of makes it look like a wall, right? It kind of looks like, like this kind of security that has been built up over time. And she has one hand resting on it as if it was, as if she was leaning on her security, right? And then on her hand, she has what is a bird that has a little, what looks like a little bag over its face. And she's looking very adoringly to it. And she has a glove that looks like it is, reinforced. And what that is that's a falcon. And there's at the turn of the century in the late 1800s, there's a sport called falconry, and what it is that you see it sometimes, and you actually see it in a few Jane Austen movies, the movies that are based on Jane Austen novels. But falconry is where a bird is trained to go where you tell it to go and come back. And when you think of a falcon, right, you think of a bird that is very, a bird that is very agile and very direct and very wild, very primal. When a bird like that is trained, that when you take the mask off its eyes, that it goes where you want it to go and it comes back. It's kind of a sign of kind of mastering a base instinct, right? So first and foremost, the first thing that you think of, the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the symbols or the meaning of the Nine of Pentacles is being disciplined, right? It's about, it's an accomplished person, right? Now in the image, it is, she is depicted as a woman, which I think really appeals to me as a tarot reader, as a single woman. It's like you look at her and you think, oh gosh, she's got it all, right? And the way that she's dressed and the way that she holds herself, the posture and the way that she looks at the bird, it just really means that this is somebody who is well off, clearly. This is not someone who wants for money. She has money. And she just looks very well established, right? The other thing is that she looks very, elegant in kind of a ladylike way. And the fact that she's holding a falcon and a bird that's perched on her hand that, in falconry she can control, she can tell it to go and come back and it will listen, it'll follow her commands. What it means is it's kind of having a mastery over base desires, right? It means someone who is very refined. So it's definitely a card about self-control. It's a card about being, having restraint in a very classy way. Again, it means somebody who, when you experience anger, you experience guilt or any of the base emotions, this is somebody who has experienced those emotions and has, gained control over them. Right? So it's someone who knows how to manage themselves, right? It's someone who knows how to conduct themselves in a very, and when you look at it, it's someone who knows how to handle kind of an upper crust society, right? And not to bring that into modern day context, because yes, the Rider-Waite Smith was created at the turn of the century, at the beginning of the 1900s. So there is still a lot of that antiquated kind of meaning in it. But the other thing that it can be applied very much to modern day, because when you think about it, when you deal with other people who are in business, when you deal with other people, in your everyday lives, and it could be family members, it could be people you see at church, it could be people that you deal with in a professional sense. You have to, the more refined that you come across, the more well off that you tend to be, because you manage yourself and you conduct yourself in a professional and a cultured way, right? So the other thing is that in that sense, it can be someone who is well versed with other cultures. It can be someone who is understands the arts. It does tend to be someone who's educated, and when I say educated, it doesn't mean that you have to have a PhD. A lot of times when I look at this card, I think of someone who's probably traveled, someone who's seen other countries and has experienced other cultures and understands. I've only been to a few. I've only traveled internationally to a few places, but it's amazing how eye-opening it is. It's very encouraged, at least once in your life, for you to go someplace and to see the way that other people live, right? And you kind of understand once you've been exposed to it. You kind of understand when you see someone's traditions, or you understand the reason why people do things. It makes you a lot more flexible, but it also makes you a lot more open-minded. And when you do that, you just kind of, if you ever run into that in a professional sense or in a public sense, you can conduct yourself with a lot of knowledge and a lot of class, right? Because you're aware of more than just yourself, right? So a lot of times it is reining in kind of those impulses, right? This woman is very refined. She knows about her outside world more than just her culture. Now, the other thing is that sometimes it can mean sacrificing to reach a goal. Again, when I see this card, I definitely think of a professional sense. I know I kind of, in my day job, I kind of work in a more of a professional field. And I'll tell you, when I speak to people, there's a great saying that I think of when I talk to someone who's flexible. And when I say flexible, I don't mean a pushover. What I always think, the phrase that goes through my mind is, when I talk to someone who wants to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem, that's what I think of when I think of the Nine of Pentacles. Because when you think about it, when you call up and you're running into some kind of block, right? Like something's not getting done, something's not happening, you could blow your stack, pitch a fit, complain that it's not going your way, right? Which is being part of the problem. Or you can say, okay, I'm experiencing this problem. What can we do to solve it? Right? What do we have to do to solve it? And isn't that kind of taking the high road, right? It's taking the high road. You're understanding that there's a conflict, but instead of contributing to the conflict, instead of seeing just your world, you're going to rise above that, and you're going to show yourself to be a very astute person, right? To be someone of, that you rein in your impulses, right? You may be frustrated. You may think it's stupid, right? But you're reining in your impulses to try to understand, and that's very much a Nine of Pentacles kind of symbol. The other thing is that you could really be sticking to a program. right? If you see this person has a very elaborate garden, so that doesn't come without work, right? Sometimes you have a system to make that work, right? And so a lot of times, and this might not be just your system, it could be you going with the status quo. If you see this card next to maybe something like the Hierophant, you could definitely be going in. The other thing that I kind of think of when I see this card, especially the writer Waite Smith, is I kind of think of elegant dinners, like elegant dinner parties. I know that's funny, but the elegance, the kind of pomp and circumstance that you see with the way that she's dressed and her posture, and the holding a falcon, which is such a kind of old school, very cordial kind of sport. It makes me think of those parties where you have to know what silverware goes with what. And honestly, the way I've always learned that is that start on the outside, work your way in, salad fork, dinner fork, dessert fork, and knife spoon, dessert spoon. So, but there's better ways to learn it than that, but you know what I mean? Like, if you've ever seen that scene in Pretty Woman when she flings the escargot across the room and she's like, slippery little suckers, because, she's trying to figure out what silverware goes with what. But I definitely think this type of person, or the Nine of Pentacles, is someone who knows, but it's not from, it's from previous experience. The other thing is that I really love about this, and we can actually go into the second deck. I went ahead and chose the Vice Versa Tarot for the second deck. And what it is that the Vice Versa Tarot does not have a formal card back. The back of the card is considered the image in reverse. But looking at the page, the Nine of Pentacles upright, you see that she's holding what looks like a dove of peace. And you see the same elaborate garden, and you see all the pentacles, they're like part of the bridge around her. What I love is that she's wearing a beautiful gown that's very similar to springtime kind of gown or dress. And she has a bunny at the bottom of her feet, which means abundance, right? And she is abundant. She's self-sufficient, right? And we're about to get into that. One other side note that I've always noticed in tarot, it seems like the pentacle suit is very close to the Empress in nature. Like the Empress can either be Taurus or Libra because she has the symbol of Venus on her shield. But I've always seen that like Nine of Pentacles seems to go into the Queen of Pentacles, which seems to go into the Empress, which is all, and Taurus is kind of a, the Queen of Pentacles can be a Taurus woman, right? Or any earth sign woman. Could be a Virgo as well. But what I think is beautiful about that is that same bunny, and with this deck in particularly, the bunny that's at the Queen of Pentacles also has a rabbit at her feet, which means abundance, and it also means quick acquisition of things, right? It means that things are multiplying for you quickly. And you see her garden is very lush. It's like, it's growing fast for her. But you see the same beautiful posture, and she almost looks like a Disney princess with her hand holding the bird, and it's like, she's got it all, right? So a lot of times it means refinement, right? It means having a comfortable lifestyle. And with that, it really means somebody who does it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't work, but it usually means someone who has achieved a level of self-sufficiency that they have disposable income, right? It's somebody who's pretty well off. It's someone who is set up where they don't have to want for much, right? Their garden is abundant. This would be someone. The other thing is that it usually, I always think about it, I immediately think the independent woman, right? And I think of that Destiny's Child song where, that the car that I drive, I bought it. The rings on my hands, I bought them, my house, I bought that. I pay the mortgage. That's me. That's no one else, right? So a lot of times it can mean an affluent woman. And it doesn't necessarily have to be gender specific, but a lot of times it does mean that woman who is either not necessarily an heiress. It could be someone who has earned the money herself, right? That's the beautiful thing, is that we are in a modern age where, there's a lot of CEOs who are self-made, and, the other thing is that it can a lot of times mean handling a situation alone. One thing that I do think of is that I usually see it as this being kind of not a headstrong woman, but a woman who does not need, like, the source of her income does not come from anyone else. Like, it doesn't come from her family, or if it does come from her family, that it's hers free and clear. Like, she doesn't answer to anyone with how she spends her money, right? And with that comes a certain amount of power. But definitely one thing that I see is that I see this person handles that power with grace, right? She does push forward with what she wants to do, but she does so in a graceful way. One way that I kind of see this, especially in the upright, if this is like the wife of somebody, like I do think it kind of like the first lady card, or, maybe, I forget the name of Bill Gates' wife, but the someone who's the wife of someone very affluent, and their job is that they kind of go out in the world and they do good, right? They're philanthropists. And a lot of times, one story I kind of think of is that I remember I saw a wonderful documentary on PBS about the cherry blossoms that are at the DC basin, tidal basin, and those almost didn't get there. It's funny, they have thousands of visitors, hundreds of thousands of visitors every year that come to see the cherry blossoms, and that did not happen without the real dogged determination of one woman who was the wife of kind of an affluent man, and she had visited the Orient, and she wanted these cherry blossoms here, and she really pushed for it. Because no one thought that there was any value in it. And that's kind of what I think of when I see that. It's somebody who I almost get that sometimes it, especially if you see this maybe next to the Seven of Wands, the Nine of Pentacles is someone who really pushes for what's right, but they do it in a classy way. They're not, this is not the woman who would cause a scene, but she's not going to give up easily either. She'll just keep, again, just like, are you part of the problem or part of the solution? If one attempt doesn't work, she'll, regroup, reassess, and then try again in a different way, from a different angle. And she'll do it with that same classy kind of demeanor. So it is kind of acting on your own. It's falling back on your own resources. A lot of times you would see this behind someone who might be funding something by themselves because they have the ability to do that. It is also the sign of someone who could want to be alone, right? I do kind of see this card surrounding those who choose to be single. Sometimes you see it around someone who may have had heartbreak, or may have gone through a bad breakup. There's several celebrity stories and also personal stories. I know several people who are good friends of mine who, they dated. It wasn't like they were not interested in having a life partner, but they'd spent many years dating, and then maybe a relationship didn't work out, or, a divorce followed. And then after that, they just decided to purposely be single. They were financially able to be independent, and they just chose to be alone. And I know it's interesting when I see this card. It's one of the most beautiful things that I see. The meanings behind it is that, you don't have to have a partner to be happy. I mean, granted, when you meet the right person and they do right by you, then by all means, there are, of course, mutual benefits to being in a partnership, but there are plenty of people who decide that they would rather be alone, and it doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't make them a hermit. It doesn't, it doesn't make them anywhere, and that's the thing, is you see how classy this person is. Sometimes I do see this card in the upright fall when there's a little bit of gossip around those kind of discussions, like, I see it come out a lot when someone's like, oh, wow, she's such a wonderful person. Why isn't she married, right? I kind of see it pop up like that. And I giggle because sometimes, you will see it also pop up around a question, if your family is kind of pressuring you too, like, when are you going to find a husband? When are you going to, and the Nine of Pentacles pop up and it's like, when I'm ready. when I decide that it's right to find a husband, that's when it'll happen. So, keep waiting, but you do it, you almost diffuse it in, again, that really classy way. You're not going to call anybody out on something. A lot of times it can also be addressing kind of a blunt question, like if you do see a celebrity, sorry for the background noise, but maybe you were presented, like if you see the Page of Swords in reverse next to the Nine of Pentacles, maybe someone said something really kind of blunt and off the cuff to you, and you handled it in a real, like you just gave the most eloquent answer. Wow, this is really, sorry guys. But the other thing is that, going to our last card, I went with the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. And in this card, I think it's lovely. It plays into that same self-sufficient vibe. You see a woman who has artwork on the back, on her wall. And, she's got a bird, but like a parrot. And she's got her pentacles on a crown. And I love the way that she's just, again, all three of these ladies, they just sit so upright, right? And she does. She either painted those pictures or that's her collection of artwork. And she just looks like she's a lady. What this always reminds me of, this last card always reminds me of Victoria Vanderbilt, right? And kind of the same story too. She had been through several marriages. She had been through, and then she was a widowed later in her life, and after that she really got into her own creative pursuits, right? Jackie Kennedy Onassis, she had a lot of tragedy in her life, and she went on to work in editing and to work, in New York. And it can really be just someone who, again, she doesn't have to work, but she chooses to. So with this last card, I definitely think of someone who's achieved a comfortable lifestyle. It's definitely it could be someone who's retired and doesn't have to work, but chooses to do things that they're creatively drawn to. It can, when it represents a person, it can mean someone who's on the board of an art, like a group of artists, or also with garden and everything else. And the fact that I speak to a lot of environmentalists, it could be someone who really does go out for the greater good, like they could care about environmental causes and the planet. The other thing that I kind of see is that it's someone who avoids the real coarse or unsavory things of life. It's someone who always conducts themselves with authority, but with dignity. Right? So if this is representing a person, it's definitely someone who has dignity, right? It's someone that you don't treat with disrespect. The other thing is that it's someone that can be very tactful and diplomatic. Again, just like the cherry blossoms in the tidal basin, the woman got really brushed off a lot. Well, you're just out to do something frivolous, and she wasn't. She changed the way that she really contributed to tourism in DC, and she also gave something that was long lasting and beautiful, and very part of our culture. So, it can be in that same vein. It can be seeking really high-minded kind of activities, and I don't mean that in a weird way, but again, it's like those really classy kind of parties. It could be the Met Gala, kind of those kind of, upper crust things. Either that, or it could be something that you deem that way, right? It could be something as small as a wedding or a birthday party, but if you feel like you are hosting this in such a way, the Nine of Pentacles can show up in a read. It can be you enjoying the finer things of life. If you're in a time of your life, maybe you just entered into retirement, or you've started a new hobby. The last card, the Eight of Pentacles, we talked about a lot about, you know, those activities that distract you and give you a sense of purpose. This can show up when you're doing something like that, especially if it's like art or some kind of special craft that really, it shows a certain artisanship. The other thing is that it can be enjoying leisure, right? It could be you traveling, like if you're on vacation, you know. It could be you experiencing something. Maybe you have a day at the art museum, or maybe you're exposed to something that you've never seen before, and it really kind of opened your eyes and got you inspired to try something that was artistic or just really kind of different. And then last but not least, I really feel like it represents those kind of activities that are really, you know, I hate to call it upper crust, but really those kind of things that are outside of the norm. It could be like historically renovating a building or preserving a building under, you know, under the historic title. With all the greenery, it can be, you know, I see a lot of times when I go for drives that you see farms that are marked as forever farmland. It could be something like that, you know. It can really be preserving these really, not even antiquated, but these parts of our culture that are important to that and that need preservation, right? So it can be you being on the board of an art museum, or, you know, or some kind of endeavor that really, that contributes to you maintaining the, you know, the arts, right? I definitely, you know, see this as being something that's more, you know, of, that encourages people to understand the level of, you know, artistic intellectualism that comes from certain things. And it's definitely not to be hoity-toity. It's more to, you know, to understand the reason why the arts are there, and how they contribute to your perspective and your sense of being, right? It makes you feel affluent. It makes you feel established. It gives you a sense of understanding that you have in your core that really enforces, you know, self-esteem, right? And the last thing that I do see with all three cards is exactly that. It means self-esteem, right? It means somebody who is self-sufficient, that can rely on themselves. You know, if you see it in a read, it can mean that you just want to be independent, right? If you see, you can be a guy or a girl, and if you see this pop up, you can just say, well, you know, I just want to do me right now, right? I don't want to be in a committed relationship. I don't want any labels. I just want to, you know, I just want to do me, right? And that's really what this card means. But, you know, a lot of times it can mean a wife who conducts herself, you know, with a lot of class. It can be a person of grace or skill. It can be someone who's applying their skills in a very, you know, in a way that, the other thing is that this woman really influences people too. So a lot of times I do kind of see that, and you can see that in a more modern social media kind of way, where you might be, that's one other way you can read it, is maybe you see somebody and you emulate their style because they're the epitome of, you know, of how you should be, right? And you do see that a lot more. You know, you might see a celebrity or a social media star who was wearing this shirt, or redid their bathroom, or renovated their house, and you're like, oh gosh, that's just, oh, that's so classy, you know, I gotta, what a, you know, what a beautiful way, you know, to do that. And the other way I kind of see it too is that this person is very different in the way that they do things, right? They almost, I would see this if you saw this next to maybe the Queen of Wands in the upright. You know, it's someone who starts a trend. She's able to start a trend because her influences, how she is, what she's learned, and the way that she lives her life is inspirational to other people. But wow, guys, so that is the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. And just one other thing, though, just to throw it out there with the bird, I know we don't really see any dogs or cats, and this being more of kind of an earth card, it can be someone who really loves animals as well. So it can be someone who fosters animals or rescues animals or just is out for the welfare of animals. So just to put it out there, that's one other meaning. But when you look at the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, the first thing that you think of is you think of the energy either blocked or in its negative manifestation. So the first meaning that you see is kind of an ill-founded success, right? Someone who's affluent or well off for some not so good reasons, right? Sometimes if you see this next to kind of a tougher card, it could be someone who got an inheritance and that you don't really think deserves it. If you see this next to the Queen of Wands in reverse, it can be that woman who has a lot of money and flaunts it. It can be someone who's a little bit negative with it, like maybe they are kind of snooty and demanding that things be their way because they have money. The other thing is that it can be unwise financial decisions, and all of the pentacle cards kind of mean that in the reverse, but particularly with this one, I kind of see it as it is being that kind of tacky card where, like, say for instance, not to throw it out there, but when you see like an heiress who has never known lack, who has always had money, she's rich, right? And then she rolls out with a bubblegum pink Porsche, and you're like, oh God, okay, there's so many better ways that you could spend $300,000, right? And so sometimes you can see it being that person who just squanders their money in really tacky and kind of tasteless things. Also, it can be that person who seems to kind of post on social media about things that seem a little frivolous and that, could really go to help other people in a better way, but that, is not, put towards a good or ethical use. A lot of times it can mean dependency. It can mean someone that on the outside looks like they're so independent, but on the inside all their money is coming from someone that they have to appease. So sometimes that can be a sign of, like a rich marriage that, is very controlling, or, you could be a child of someone who has money, but the money's not really yours. It just appears like it's yours. Sometimes it can be, theft or wastefulness, again, squandering money on frivolous things. Sometimes it can be someone who has a guilty conscience. And I know that's kind of a different interpretation, but especially when you look at the vice versa tarot, you see that, instead of it being a sunny scene, it's a moon scene. So it definitely can mean that, your sense of independence is delayed, or you have to work harder for it because it's nighttime. The other thing in this card is you see a tower with a crow or a falcon, right? So a lot of times, it just means that, this sense of independence might be delayed. You might be close to achieving it, but you're not quite there yet. Sometimes this can mean, in the reverse, it can mean someone who is going against the environment. It can be someone who's, it can be the sign of like an industry or something that's kind of being more of a polluting kind of influence. It can be somebody who's on the board of some kind of, affluent group who is steering things in the direction they want it to go, but not necessarily the best direction or the most ethical one. Sometimes it can be financial setbacks, just meaning that, you were once, it could be that, 1 month you were really kind of in a good place, and then now that's starting to get hindered or, detoured. The other things is that sometimes it can be problems with animals or pets. It can be a sick animal, or it can be, possibly an animal that's not acting real right. Maybe you adopted a pet and the temperament is just not what you expected. The last kind of meaning is that it can mean the burdens of wealth. As you see, and especially if you see this, the Nine of Pentacles in reverse next to maybe the Ten of Cups in reverse, it really means that money doesn't buy happiness, right? You could win the lottery tomorrow and have all of these financial security, but sometimes it brings you more troubles. Either that, or sometimes it can mean loneliness, you know, because maybe you feel like you don't relate to people, you know, due to your status. You do kind of see that with, you know, celebrities who are hounded. They're very isolated. They can't leave their house. You know, they have every comfort, but it doesn't really serve them in a daily way. The other way I kind of read it is that, you know, every one of us has had those moments in our life where you just feel a little bit like it can be like a lack of creative inspiration. You know, you can feel like, okay, you know, I used to be so creative and now I just feel like, you know, I just feel alone, and, you know, yes, I have a roof over my head, and yes, I have food on the table, but, you know, I'm alone and I don't have anybody to share my passions with. I'm not really inspired right now. So sometimes it can be a sign of listlessness and, you know, just feeling like a disconnect from other people. But the last thing that it can mean is it can mean like a poor manager, like someone who doesn't manage well, meaning that they do their thing, you know, and they don't care, you know, they don't care about thinking about what you need. It's all about them. And then a lot of times it can just mean dishonest people, you know, folks who want to try to swindle you. So the other thing that it can be is that, you know, if you do have money, you know, sometimes it can be that situation where, and especially with this being an independent woman, sometimes I do think of maybe an elderly person who has their nest egg of retirement, and maybe somebody, you know, if with the 9 being in reverse, it might be that they're, you know, coming, they're showing, you know, if you see this next to maybe the 7 of Swords, it's quite possible, or another Pentacles card, it's quite possible that somebody might be targeting them, you know, trying to get their money, or trying to get them to spend money on something that's not relevant, or might be a fraud, you know, defrauding them. But whether it's in the upright or the reverse, it's definitely a dynamic card. I love the sense of independence and the self-sufficiency. I think that, you know, having that sense of self and that sense of freedom is always a beautiful thing. And it just speaks to me of class and grace and dignity. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you choose your deck. So we'll get into the reading part of the video. First deck is the Rider-Waite-Smith, and we have the gorgeous Sunstone. The second deck is the Vice Versa Tarot with the Dalmatian Jasper. And the third deck is the Slow Tarot with the Bloodstone. So if you need more time, please pause the video. Otherwise, I do ask that you please choose from your intuition, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move the other decks up so we have some space. One other thing is I am going to clarify using the I thought that since it is the Nine of Pentacles, and it's definitely kind of a you know, a character card, you know, someone who's being themselves. I thought it would be great to go ahead and pull a oracle card with the archetype cards by Carolyn Myss. So I just thought that would be a good way to help clarify our read. But let me go ahead and get started. So deck number 1, the Rider-Waite-Smith. How does the Nine of Pentacles manifest in your life? Got 2 10s. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's go ahead and see. right, guys. So in your past, you have 2 10s, and I think this is really, that's really powerful, especially going from a 9, you know, the present energy is a 9, right? But the 2 10s that you got is you got the 10 of Wands and you got the 10 of Pentacles. So definitely, I'm definitely getting a sense that this is possibly a family thing. I do think that your sense of self, or your sense of self-reliance, has come from, I think you've really had to work hard with your family, right? It is quite possibly that maybe your family came from money, either that or your family helped direct you, or helped steer you on the course that, that you know, enabled you to become self-sufficient, right? Maybe they helped you get the job that would become your career. But one thing that I definitely sense is that, you know, with the Ten of the Wands being this way, is that it definitely felt like a challenge, right? Quite possibly, you might have been under the expectation that you need to do things according to the status quo, right? You have to follow, you see this a lot sometimes when you're expected to follow in the family footsteps, so to speak. Maybe you know, maybe all of your family members went to the same college, or maybe they were all lawyers or all doctors, and then, you know, when you discover, okay, I don't want to be a doctor, you know, it's like, oh no, that's how you make money, that's how you live up to the family name, right? So I do get the sense that you did follow the status quo, but it kind of made you feel very well weighed down. It's almost like you felt a lot of pressure to carry on the family tradition. It did bring you affluence. You know, this energy carries over to the present. But the one thing that I'm kind of seeing is that I'm seeing that it didn't really make you really happy. It gave you money, it gave you security, it possibly gave you a lot of affluence, you know, like it built a name for you, or you possibly, you know, piggybacked off your surname. I'm kind of getting that sense that, you know, maybe if someone hears your last name, they're like, oh, you know, you kind of have an in with, you know, with that. But I do think that what it is that to try to earn this kind of, you know, the money and the prestige, it's been a lot of work. It did accomplish what you wanted to accomplish, but it didn't really, I think it gave you the prestige, it gave you the money, but it didn't make you happy emotionally. Because what you see is that presently, and this is right under your Nine of Pentacles, is you got the Five of Cups, right? You got the Five of Cups. One other thing that I kind of see with that is that maybe you could have been putting a lot of work into work. Like maybe you were really taught that you have to, you know, spend, you know, do 60-hour work weeks and never have time for a personal life, because the cups are more of an emotional card, right? And what you see is you see somebody who's, you know, crying over the spilled cups, but not seeing the two that are upright behind you, right? So what the nice thing about the Nine of Pentacles is, again, those nine pentacles are towards the ground, right? They look like a stone wall, right? She has her hand leaning on it, right? So you've done the work, right? In the past, you've done the work. You've put in the work that you needed to get where you are right now. And where you are right now is that you may not, you're at a 9, right? You know, in the past you had 2 10s, and now you're at a 9. It's almost like you decreased a little bit, but not by much, right? You're just, you ever see the folks who are like, okay, I'm a lawyer, I live in LA, let me go ahead and let me sell the LA house, let me move to some rural town. It'll cost me a little bit of money, but I'll still have enough to live off of. It's almost, I almost get the feeling that you're doing that. You lived the real fast life for a long time. You did what everybody else expected of you, but currently you want to kind of take the equity that you've earned from that, because it really isn't fulfilling you emotionally, and you want to find emotional fulfillment, right? You want to find emotional fulfillment. So that's kind of where you are presently. And honestly, I almost feel like you're kind of in a transition stage. I think you're just currently leaving, like you're discerning where you want to go next, and you're in a good position, you're still well off, but again, you're going from 10 to 9, and I think what your concern is that you don't, you know, you don't want to spend a whole lot of money. You don't want to lose your financial security, but you understand the importance of emotional happiness, right? Because it isn't just having a fancy house and a good car, and all that's wonderful, all of that's needed in life. That's wonderful security to have. And I'm not dissing it, not at all. But there's that happiness that money can't buy, and that's what you want, right? That's what you want. And then, so that's kind of where you are presently. I think you're kind of reflecting on your emotional state and saying, okay, what can I do to just be more emotionally happy and still keep my security, my financial security? And then moving forward, this is really quite beautiful, guys, is that you got the Queen of Pentacles, and underneath it you got the Page of Pentacles, the Page of Swords, and the Hierophant. And you know what I'm really getting, guys, is that I really get that, I'm not getting so much of a career vibe, but, with the Nine of Pentacles, remember how I said in the intro, if you caught that, the Nine of Pentacles seems to grow into the Queen of Pentacles, which seems to grow into the Empress, right? So I think what you're going to do is, I think that you're going to take some time and you're going to try to connect spiritually, right? I think whatever you're doing for a job is pretty steady. I don't think that you're going to be changing jobs or careers anytime soon. But I think what you're going to do is you really, because pages are learners, right? They're novices. They're the folks who look at everything with brand new eyes, right? Because it's the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Swords, I think you're really going to change your mindset. And you're coming across as the Queen of Pentacles, right? So gosh, guys, I'm serious. Like the Nine of Pentacles and the Queen, you're gonna stay an independent woman. It's almost like you're going from an independent girl to an independent woman, right? And what it is I really think that you're not gonna lose your self-confidence, and your sense of self-value is not going anywhere. Right? You're going to retain that, but it's almost like you're going to look at life in a new way. And this is really beautiful energy, guys, because look at that's sunny. You're still in a garden, except you're sitting on a throne, right? You're going to continue to grow your wealth, right? Like your sense of financial stability is not going anywhere. But what you are going to do is you're going to look at money in a new way. Like you're going to look at the way that you live, and you're also going to look at the things that are valuable to you, right? In a new way. You're going to say, okay, what holds meaning for me? Because it's true, in life, it's proven. What makes life worth living is things that hold meaning. When you find meaning in life. And that can be anywhere. That can be on you learning new things. It can be you traveling and experiencing new things. It could be people in your life. The other thing is with these being pages, it could very well be children. It could be an earth sign child and an air sign child. But, the other thing that I'm kind of getting here too is, this might be for a few people watching, but it's quite possible, because the Hierophant does mean marriage. It is quite possible that you might kind of evolve into this Queen of Pentacles by getting married and having either children or having stepchildren, that are earth and air signed. But I definitely see that the Queen of Pentacles is such a practical, nurturing woman. She's just an evolution of the Nine, right? She's growing in her strength. You see all these roses above her throne. She really is. She's one step down from the Empress, which is really the Queen of Queens, right? But I do think that you're gonna take this energy and evolve. And you're going to say, okay, what do I need to be happy? And I do think that there's a lot of spiritualness here. I think whatever choices or whatever path you follow, you just want to be happy, and you're going to follow whatever brings you happiness, whether that be a relationship or, learning more things culturally, or maybe pursuing things, but your sense of value, like your sense of self, is really going to develop from that. And I think all of that, oops, sorry, I think all of that evolution stems from you not being afraid to go back to square one with your perception, right? If you're willing to be open to the world, it's almost like you want to explore, you want to see things through the eyes of a child, right? And I think that's going to teach you a lot of, it's going to, the other thing about the Hierophant is that you're kind of leveling up spiritually, right? You're learning things. And this could be a spiritual mentor as well. It's quite possible that, the other thing is that, you might evolve your career, like you might find a specialization in something that makes you real happy. But with the Five of Cups, I really do just get the sense that you might just feel like you're lacking maybe more in a relationship sense, or, just being around people, or I really get the sense that you want to fill your cup, right? Your bank account's fine, the roof over your head is fine. You really want to fill your soul, and you want to feel a loving connection to people. And I do think that will come by taking a beginner's mindset, and maybe, opening yourself up to some more spiritual learning, or leveling up that way. Could quite potentially be a mentor, someone who helps lead you, kind of shows you how to go. But I definitely think that you were working way too hard in the past. And, by amping down a little bit, and saying, okay, this is my life. I want to be emotionally happy. What would make me emotionally happy? That's going to help you evolve into the Queen of Pentacles. And that's beautiful, guys. This is really, I think throughout this whole process, you're very practical, and you're good with money. I don't see you suffering with money at all. Now, the two archetype cards that you got is, the first one is you got Slave, which says surrendering your power of choice to the divine with complete trust. And wow, guys, this really speaks to me here. Because these are 2 pages and then the Hierophant. You know what? I think it's almost telling you to kind of trust the universe a little bit. I know that seems a little woo-woo, but, it's almost like knowing that, the path that you're on is not going to lead you astray. The other thing is that with all these pentacle cards, sometimes earth signs can be a little controlling. They want, and not in a bad way, it's just kind of like, you don't like a lot of surprises. You kind of like things being predictable. But here, for you to evolve from the Nine of Pentacles to the Queen, you almost have to trust a little bit, because you have to kind of be in a flexible kind of beginner's mindset, but you are going to level up. So surrender your power of choice to the divine with complete trust. Also, whatever you define as your higher power, if you believe in God, maybe if you pray, or if you just ask your higher power to give you that direction. I also feel like with the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Swords, I think you're going to find your value, or you're going to find new things that bring you value, by just being really open-minded. And I do think that these experiences are going to come to you kind of like epiphanies. Now, the other card you got is Child Eternal. Determination to remain young in body, mind, and spirit. Ability to see things with fresh eyes. And gosh, guys, you have 2 pages here. And, and surrender to the divine with the Hierophant. I do think that it's just telling you that, the other thing that I kind of get with the Nine of Pentacles is that she really doesn't worry about much, right? She doesn't look like she's stressed out, She knows she's taken care of, right? She knows that she's taken care of. So I think, your evolution is quite ahead of you. I think this is almost kind of destined for you, that you're meant to be that Queen of Pentacles. So definitely, go with the flow and just learn new things. The other thing is I'm getting, just be yourself. Just being yourself, But wow, guys, that's a really beautiful reading. That's really lovely energy. Very independent. All right, so deck number 2, we've got the Vice Versa Tarot. and the Dalmatian Jasper. And just like I said with the other decks, we will be clarifying with the Archetype cards by Carolyn Myss. So how does the Nine of Pentacles manifest in your life? Okay, middle card. Okay, the Three of Cups is trying to pop out. Okay, last card. Please clarify the Lovers in reverse. There's the Three of Cups again, guys. Wow. And the Hermit's kind of sliding around on top. Alright, let's go ahead and get your Archetype card. So how does the Nine of Pentacles manifest in your life? Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So in the past, we've got the Temperance card, which is a major arcana. And when you see it, you see an angel that's taking the elements and pouring them between two cups. And you have majors in all three areas of this spread, guys. So this is your Nine of Pentacles is very much, I think your goal in life, like your mission, your personal spiritual mission, is to be independent. I am really getting that. The other thing that I'm really getting is that you're very abundant. That's the other thing, is that the beautiful thing about the Temperance card is that it's recalibration, right? And when you see the lilies, it means experience. But the thing that I think is lovely is that in both the Lovers card and in the Temperance card, is there's an angel that is above you, right? It's almost like you don't even have to do, it's not saying that you don't have work to do. You definitely have work to do. But you have help, right? And again, whether you believe in God or a higher power or your spirit guides, whatever you believe in, you are not alone. You're not alone. And, you know, the thing that I think is beautiful about the Nine of Pentacles is that if you believe that when you're put on this earth, you have a purpose, right? You have a purpose. You have something that you're here to do. And I really do believe that. I believe your ancestors are here. I believe your angels are here. I believe God is here because they want to help you. They want to see you grow. And what I'm really seeing here is this recalibration in the past is that I'm getting a sense as if maybe you really haven't felt as free as you should be, right? The other thing I'm kind of seeing is as we get to the future, you see how she has a gold cup and a silver cup? And on the back, this is the Lovers reverse. You have a silver cup and a gold cup there. And we'll get to that meaning in just a minute. But I definitely think that in your recent past, there's definitely something that was imbalanced, right? There was something imbalanced. It's quite possible that you might have experienced a little bit of lack in the past, right? I think that maybe you might have worked a little too hard, or maybe you put your energy towards, you kind of contributed your energy to other people when really you could have not. I don't want to, I know you would probably think this is us making it sound selfish, but sometimes you don't have to give your energy to other people because it depletes you, right? Sometimes that energy is meant for you to have. The other thing that I kind of see is that maybe you worked really hard and maybe you let others receive, but you didn't let yourself receive in equal measure. Because again, you know, temperance is recalibration. It's giving you that independence because it's rightfully yours, right? But something got imbalanced in the past, right? Something got imbalanced in the past that needs to be balanced now. And maybe you were not as independent. Like it's your goal to be independent. It's your right to be independent right now. But something happened in the past where that got out of whack, and the universe is trying to put it back into balance for you. Now, the present energy underneath your Nine of Pentacles is you have the Eight of Swords, but you have it in reverse. And underneath it, you have the Strength card, which is another major arcana. All these major arcana is really telling me that you've got some universal power. You have some universal energy behind you right now, because this needs to be balanced. Whatever this is needs to be balanced. You need to feel abundant, right? You need to feel self-sufficient. That is your birthright, and that's where you're supposed to be right now. And what's beautiful about this Eight of Swords in reverse, and because it's the reverse, and the vice versa cards do not have a formal card back. The card back is the reversal. It's like a different image. And what you see is you see the woman who's all tied up, right? The Eight of Swords is being stuck in your mind. It's feeling trapped. And here, she's got a sword right there, and the ropes are not even that tight, right? She could probably slip out of those ropes. She could use the sword to cut herself free. And look, there's an eagle that's swooping in, right? There's the eagle swooping in, about to help her break herself free. So I definitely get the sense that you were supposed to be this woman. You're supposed to be this woman right now. You're supposed to be financially well off, independent, self-sufficient, don't need anybody. But something happened that you might have, things might have gone a little off course, where you might have been giving your power away, or you might have been working for other people, and you didn't quite give yourself your fair share of the spoils. And now, universe, the higher powers that be, cannot allow that imbalance to persist. So in the past, you have an angel calibrating the two, balancing out the two energies. And right now, you're still feeling kind of stuck, right? You're supposed to be in this energy, and here you are tied up on the ground. And there's an eagle and you see the bird, right? There's an eagle swooping in to give you the strength to cut yourself free. And that's where you are presently, right? Because where you're supposed to be is you're supposed to be in this abundant energy. The other thing is, when you cut yourself free, when you cut yourself loose from anything that's making you feel like you shouldn't, anything that's making you feel like you don't deserve to receive, needs to go. Because you definitely deserve to receive, and you've actually haven't really, claimed you haven't reaped the harvest of your previous work yet, and you're supposed to already be there, but you're trapped on the ground. So definitely there's some kind of imbalance that's being righted right now. And one thing that it is kind of telling you is that whatever mental mindset that you're in, that you think that you either don't deserve, either that, or you think that you're kind of stuck, you have the deep reserves of strength within you, right? This woman is within you. You just have to cut, all you have to do is cut yourself loose and stand up. That's all you have to do. And the universe is sending you that eagle. They're sending you with the swords. The ropes are loose, It's giving you ways that you can break yourself free. Now, the future that we have here is you have the Lovers in reverse, and you have the Three of Cups in the upright. And again, you see the gold and the silver cups there. This could quite honestly be from some kind of relationship. But the other thing that I kind of get here is that I'm almost kind of getting a feeling like if the Lovers is a choice. And remember how we said you have an angel, looking out for you? But with the Lovers being in reverse and those being a gold and silver cup, it's almost like, the Three of Cups is celebration, right? The Three of Cups is celebration. What I'm almost getting, guys, is that I really do think that this is kind of a lesson in self-sufficiency. I think in your temperament, you're a giving person, and that's not a bad thing. That's a beautiful thing. That's a rare thing. But I think sometimes that you give too much, And then in order for you to have everything that you want, in order for you to have that lovers, that lovers union, in order for you to feel abundant, you do have to work on your self-sufficiency first. And it's not a bad thing. Again, this is your birthright. This is what you deserve. You've earned this. You've already earned this. Why are you tied up on the ground, So what it's kind of saying is that, this celebration can be yours. I really do think that, both of these angels want to bring you love and they want to bring you partnership, but it's almost like you have to know that you are enough first. I am really getting a sense like you have to, it's encouraging you to go through this phase of self-reliance. It's almost like stages of growth, right? It's stages of growth. And again, you have a higher power sending you help to help you learn these lessons, right? To help you get to those stages, right? So what it's doing is that it's really, because this is an 8 and this is an 8 and this is a 9, right? And then, 6 and 3 is 9. So I do think that what it's just telling you is that, the celebration, the other thing is that you do have to have a strength when you approach relationships, because sometimes relationships will take from you if they're not the right kind, right? If it's one of those things where if you come into a partnership as a whole person, if you've lived by yourself, you've taken care of yourself, you don't need anybody. It isn't that, you enter into a partnership as a whole person and the other person is a whole person, and then, then it makes two cups, right? 2 cups that are both full. And that's kind of what it's saying. It's almost like saying, in order for you to be guaranteed a really true love, you have to be really strong in yourself and know that you deserve it, because you do. And I think that in the past you might have, sometimes you might have been, given less than your due because, maybe you weren't standing in your power. But if you stand in your power now, if you break free of these limited, if you break free, because the 8 of Swords in reverse is, cutting those swords away, getting out of the victim mentality, and you have the strength to do that. It is saying that, lovers in the reverse, the lovers, that's delayed connection, that's delayed union. Either that, or it can very well mean that this, this union that you were thinking about, you'll find the right person when you were in the right energy, and the energy that you need to be in is the 9 of Pentacles. That's you, that's your birthright, right? And, the 3 of Cups is celebration. It's celebration, right? So, the other thing that I'm kind of getting from this is that, the 9 of Cups, what's the most beautiful aspect of that card is, just like we said, sometimes it can be those persons who go out and date or meet other people, and if they don't find the right person, yes, it is, it's disheartening. Yes, it does, discourage sometimes. But if you decide, okay, if I'm not finding the right person, I'm okay, right? I'm okay. I've got my garden. I've got my self-sufficiency. I'm happy. I'll be all right. If I don't find someone tomorrow, if I don't find someone next week, next year, next decade, then I'll just go it alone and I'll be all right. And it's almost like the moment you shift into that mindset, the moment you get into that energy, you will be attracting people that are of your caliber, of your level, and you will not be alone. It's almost like guaranteeing you the lovers, because you're elevating and getting into the vibration that's going to bring you that, right? And that is going to be something, I really feel like your angels want this for you so bad. It's like they want to present, happiness on a platter to you, but it's almost like you have a little bit more work to do. It's almost like you have to know that you deserve it. Now, your archetype card is, you got Martyr. And it says, learning the transcendent nature of service to oneself and a cause, right? So again, it's more of this energy, the other vibe that I'm kind of getting from this is that, again, with an angel kind of calibrating the 2 lovers' cups, it's quite possible that there might be something else that you need to do right now, right? I know exactly what you mean. You know, it's funny. I'm very romantic. I always want to be in a relationship. I always want to be with someone that I think is my soulmate. But the interesting thing is that you're so much more than just your partnerships, right? There's other goals in this life that you would do other than just being a girlfriend or a wife or a mother, right? Those are all wonderful roles to have, but I'm almost getting a feeling like the moment that you get close to a relationship, you totally give yourself over to that person, and then it's not giving you an opportunity to serve the other purposes in your life. So again, the universe is like saying, look, you know, you get into this independent energy, you start doing your thing, you know, and later when you meet that guy or girl that really turns your head, you can be like, look, I want to go out on a date, but I've got my environmental club on Saturday. We're going to have to go out Sunday. I hope that's okay. You know, it's almost like that. It's almost like you have to get yourself firmly established where if love comes in or something else comes in, it doesn't shake who you are. It doesn't shape who you are. You are of service to yourself and to your causes, but it doesn't mean it does kind of speak to me of strength in this read, because we have a lot of cups, which is emotion, and we have a lot of swords, which is thoughts, and then the pentacles is that value, the value of you. The value is self-sufficiency, the knowing that I am okay just by myself. I don't need anything else to give me my sense of self. And I think you have angels on your side, and you have a very strong purpose. You can serve and help others. And as soon as you get into that self-sufficiency, everything else that you want on a heart level will come to you. And I think it'll come to you on angel's wings. So, wow, guys, that's a real powerful message. That's really cool. And then the Hermit as well is kind of like that is a little bit of an isolation card. All right, so last deck we got the Slow Tarot by Lacey, Bryant. And I really love this image. It's a really lovely image. You know, it's a mature woman, and, you know, with her art around her. And just like I told the other decks, I thought that since this is a card that talks about self-worth and self-identity, I am going to go ahead and clarify with an Archetype card by Carolyn Myss. So we'll just go ahead and see how does the nine of coins, you know, like represent in your self-identity. Okay, so let's see. How does the Nine of Coins manifest in your life? How does the Nine of Coins manifest in your life? Ooh. Second time we got the Lovers. All right, here, let me shuffle a little bit more. Sorry, guys. Okay. Okay, and then present energy. Ooh, wow. And then future energy, please. Please clarify the Ace of Cups. Wow, guys. That's a beautiful reading. That is so cool. And please go ahead and give us an Archetype card. Oh, that came quick. Wow, guys. So what we got here is, in the past you got the Chariot, and this is also a really beautiful card. You see the girl riding on the bike, right? And the Chariot is really, the Chariot is typically the two horses going opposite directions. It speaks a lot about willpower. And it also means about kind of channeling. It's like channeling two sides of yourself. It's like it's getting two opposing forces to go the same direction. It's like using the energy of opposing forces to go to really propel you straight ahead. So I think in the past, I honestly get a sense like in the past that you probably, I won't say that you've struggled with your self-identity, but I definitely think that there's kind of two parts to you. It's almost like heart and head and, soul and your sense of practical sense. It's like, I always think of the Chariot of being like, okay, when you get when you're passionate about something in your heart, but then your mind is also intrigued by it as well. When you have both of those elements in play, it's like nothing can stop you, right? Nothing can stop you. And that's what I'm really feeling. I'm feeling like in the past, um, I the other thing that I'm kind of getting is that, with the Nine of Coins being kind of that independent woman, that single lady kind of vibe, I really get the sense as if in the past, and again, you see that this is kind of a younger woman. It almost looks like the younger version of this older woman. Um, I'll be honest, guys. The way that I call it is that I don't think that you settle. I don't think that you settle. I think in the past you could have, you know, if you want something in your life, like say for instance if we're talking about a relationship, if you say, okay, this person has to be, this person has to be intellectually stimulating to me, but then I also have to feel a real physical attraction to them. If you meet one person that's just interesting intellectually wise, but you don't feel any attraction towards them, you're not going to go for it, right? You're not going to settle. You have to have everything on board, right? And the other thing that I'm getting is that with this bike going the opposite direction, it's almost as if you really did have, I do get the sense like you feel like you are a completely different person now than when you were young, right? Quite possibly you might have learned a lot from your experiences. You might have had a lot of perceptions that were kind of that evolved over time. Not that any of your initial views of things were incorrect, but maybe you did have more of a young woman's kind of idea about where you were going to be and what you were going to do. The other thing that I'm kind of getting is that I really get the sense that you've experienced a lot of life. You see this young girl has a lot of books in her basket, and you see she also has some kind of bruised up knees. So it looks like she might have taken a few falls off that bike before, right? And now you see her sitting at home. She doesn't have to ride the bike anymore. So I do think that you are a very hard worker. I think you've experienced a lot in your life. I think you've learned a lot from your previous experiences. But I also get the feeling like you've never settled for less than what would truly make you happy. And I think you've worked hard for your security. I think every coin that's around your neck, you've earned. You've earned through hard work and diligence. And I do get the sense that if you are kind of single, it's by choice, right? I think it's by choice. I think you've evolved again. I get the feeling as if you've had experiences and you may have had love and loss, and you finally decided that this is my life. This is my life. And just like we said in previous piles, it's like if you decide if being alone is making you happy, or if you want to date, and that if you want to try to date, you'll date. If you don't want to date, you won't. If you feel like you haven't met anybody that you want to spend the rest of your life with, you're not going to just settle to not be alone, right? And what's beautiful about this is that underneath your present Nine of Coins is that you've got the Four of Pentacles, Four of Wands. And the Four of Wands, as you see, it's that tent with all of the harvest. And again, I think this is really interesting because every other Nine of Coins has a lot of greenery in it. And here, I just really get, I think where you are right now is a milestone, right? You're at a milestone point in your life. You were once the young girl that worked hard and harnessed your will to get where you're going. And then now you are this cultured woman who has had a lot of experiences that have really developed you and have really, cultured you. And you're at a point of harvest, right? And even though the woman is alone in this picture, I don't get any sense of unhappiness. I think she's alone by choice, right? I think she's had experiences, possibly relationships, and she's just like, this is where I'm at. I've learned a lot. I've developed myself, and you're exactly where you're meant to be, and that should be celebrated, right? The other thing is that the Four of Wands is kind of it's a mirroring card. It is a milestone. You see the marching band, and you see them having, cultivating all the vegetables. So I do think that you're in a harvest of your life. It could be a career point where you're again in a very good place, all because of your hard work, because of of your diligence, of you. It could also quite honestly be from you, putting the dedication to what you wanted to dedicate to. But I do sense that you've accomplished a lot in your life. The other thing is that I'm kind of getting a sense that you're in a place where you're reflecting on those accomplishments, right? You're in a place where you're feeling comfortable. And it's interesting, when I see the Nine of Pentacles, I kind of see it like if you've ever met someone who's retired, if you've ever asked them, oh, okay, well, what did you do in your career? Or, it's kind of like that. It's like, yes, I bought my house, I own my car, and I'm sitting here, looking out the window with my bird, but all of those accomplishments came from, getting up at dawn and going to school and doing my job, and you've earned those things, right? So reflecting back on them now is just you taking part of the celebration of all of your accomplishments, right? I think you're in a place where you can look back on that. The other thing that I kind of see here is that if you are familiar with astrology, you could be at a time when maybe you're going through either a Saturn return or possibly a Jupiter, like a really good Jupiter aspect. One thing that I'm kind of experiencing recently is that there's a lot of contacts to Uranus, and Uranus is really that dare to be different planet. And when you go, it's interesting, when you go through a Uranus half return, which means that the Uranus in the sky is in the opposite sign of the Uranus in your chart from the time you were born. And what that happens is that happens right around the time that you're in your 40s or mid 40s, and that is the notorious sign of midlife crisis, but not in a bad way. But it's like saying, I've done all these things and now I just want to do completely different things, I don't want to drive a minivan. I want to drive a sports car. And it's kind of like going back and doing all the things that you missed, or that you felt like you should have done in your youth. But with it being the Nine of Coins, I'm definitely getting a more steady vibe than that. But it's almost like with the Four of Wands, I'm kind of getting that vibe of looking back and being like, I really did do this, and I did go there, and I did do this. And I am getting more of a steady vibe, maybe not so much a Uranus, because that is like sudden, turn on a dime kind of change. But the other thing that I kind of get from that, and especially from her expression, is that I know I like to scrapbook, and I'll pull out albums from 10 years ago, and I'll be like, wow. Sometimes you forget the places that you've been or the things that you've done. And when you look back on it, you're like, yeah, I did do that. And I think you did. I really get a strong sense that when you look back, you don't feel that restlessness of oh, I should have done this and this. You did that. It's probably what you painted about, right? It's like you created those memories. I remember one time, and it probably is about 10 years ago, I really wanted to see the Adirondacks. I had read about it in a novel, like in a book, just like a fiction novel. and it sounded so glorious. It sounded so beautiful, and I did. And my family thought I was crazy. I rented a car and I drove up to Lake Placid, and I climbed mountains, and I saw everything that was there, and it was fantastic. And it gives me that sense of like I can look out the window and be like, if someone said, "Hey, have you ever been to the Adirondacks?" Yeah, I have. It was gorgeous. I remember this and I remember that. It's kind of like that energy, It's like you did it. You did it, right? Now, the beautiful thing is, moving forward, your future energy is really off the chain, y'all. Because I'm getting a lot of singleton energy here. But the future energy you have is you got the Ace of Cups. You get the Ace of Cups. And underneath it, guys, you got the 10 of Coins, which is the 10 of Pentacles. And you got the Star. So I do get the sense that if you are in a stage of like independence, I do think in the future, if you are single, I think this really speaks to me of having a strong opportunity of meeting a new love, and possibly getting married and having a family. The other way I kind of read it too is that you could, quite honestly, again with the Four of Wands being kind of a plateau, it's kind of like a milestone kind of time. I think if this does not mean like a new relationship, then it means that you're ready to go another round, like you're ready to go another level up, and that it's just very emotionally fulfilling for you. Like it gives you that 10 of Pentacles, right? And the Star is hope. It's like, the other thing that I kind of get from this is that maybe with you not settling and you really sticking out for what you want, maybe the universe is saying that if you've done a lot of things, you've done a lot of really wondrous things, maybe if being married and having a family was on that bucket list and it hasn't happened yet, don't give up hope, because there's a really great chance of a new love. The other thing that I'm seeing here is that if it's not that, then I just see that you're going to continue in your independent energy, and you're going to be very happy. You're going to be like, having the Ace of Cups can be self-love too. It can be just feeling like your own cup is full. And it could quite honestly mean that the 10 of Pentacles means being happy with your family, whether that be, if it's not your own children, it can be, friends who are like family, or your immediate family. But I am definitely, I'm getting a strong vibe that this could quite honestly be like a new relationship that really gives you, the other thing that I'm kind of getting with this is that, there's a hope, there's a strong future, that whatever you haven't accomplished yet, and this being a single, looking like an independent woman, I really do think that you have a chance of having, like a family that fills your cup. You feel really happy in a family sense. The other thing is the 10 of Cups is feeling like you have it all financially, right? Like you really, that all of the check boxes are checked, right? Career check, house check, car check, dog check, husband check, it's like really you have everything that you would value in life, you have. And the fact that you see the Star being on a boat, and she's charting her course, I think that's coming for you. And that this is such beautiful energy, guys. Ace of Cups, 10 of Coins, the Star. That's just really glorious. And the other thing is that with the Four of Wands, this would be someone that you really feel a soul connection to. Now, the card that you got Gambler. And Gambler says willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you. And this is really, I feel like this is really playing into the Star and the Ace of Cups, because when you look at it, you see the storm is raging, right? and you're all calm, right? I really do think that, again, I think that you've probably been told, you know, again with the Chariot, people have probably looked at you and been like, well, you know, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You could have been here by now. And, you know, and you just look at them and say, I knew it wasn't right, right? I know what I'm doing, right? And look at the hands too, you know what you're doing. Even if you can't see it, you feel it, right? You know what's right. You know what's right. And I just really feel like your future, you're going to go about your life the way that you've gone about your life since back when you were this age, right? I really get a feeling like your instinct has never failed you, and I think by keeping that dignity, the other thing is, we talked about it being dignity and being, self-reliance. I think by keeping that self-reliance and knowing the right steps to take, that you will accomplish everything that you want. Again, you'll have more of those portraits to hang on the wall, right? And you'll get everything that you're looking for. So wow, guys, that's a gorgeous reading. I tell you, as I was deciding which cards to go with, I had to go with this card because it's just so lovely. Lacey Bryant, she does beautiful, beautiful artwork. But wow, guys, I hope that you enjoyed. Again, this is one of my favorite cards. And, we host the How to Tarot every Tuesday. Next week I'll be doing the next card in the coin series. In addition, on Saturdays, I do what we call the weekly energy card reading. It's just a brief 3-card spread that talks about the energies for the next 7 days. I did also want to add, that today is the 150th video. And I am really blown away by that. I can't believe that it's that. So I started on October 1st of last year, and it's the 150th video, and I'm really in awe. But I am going to keep on going, and I'm grateful for my channel. I'm grateful for my viewers and for my followers, and I hope you enjoy my content. I do pick a card readings, and if there's any themes that you would like me to do, please leave a comment, or I would always be honored if you would comment and subscribe. But I hope that you have a good Tuesday and a good rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.